Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm standing in what was once a dry riverbed in Louisfontaine, which is on the edge of the Greater Karoo. Yesterday, this was just a dry riverbed, but some great rain came yesterday and last night, and this little river came down in flood. It was quite something. But now it's back to a sort of a wet, dry riverbed. But this reminds me a little bit about some of the Christian principles we've been talking about. If you have a look around me here, you can see that there's not a lot to eat for animals, not a lot of food for sheep, but sheep have an ability to survive where other animals never would. But very often, sheep fall into a trap. Sheep that are used to living in a dry, arid kind of environment suddenly see something that's very attractive to them and they love it. They see, for instance, a lucerne patch, and so they make off for the lucerne patch, and somehow, sometimes, they break through the fence and they get stuck into that lucerne. Well, any farmer will tell you that when you've been used to this kind of a diet here and you get into a lucerne patch, it's not long before you find yourself in a lot of trouble. For sheep, it becomes a problem of bloat. That which they loved has now caused an incredible amount of gas within them, and now their stomachs get distended and they fall over and they become, like we've been talking about recently, they become cast, all because they've eaten too much of a good thing. I wonder if that's not true of some of us in the church, where sometimes we get hooked onto a particular theme or a particular doctrine or a particular hobby horse, and we hammer it to death. And we eat it and we eat it and we eat it, and eventually it turns toxic on us. You see, the thing about it is, everything in Scripture is beautiful, but everything in Scripture needs to be held in balance with everything in Scripture. And so when we take one doctrine and we make it bigger than anything else, and we get stuck into that one doctrine, it's not long before we become dysfunctional. We become grumpy. We become judgmental about people who maybe don't take that same doctrine that they may believe in, but they don't take it to the same extreme as what maybe we do. And so it causes dissension in the church. Let me say this. If you're going to elevate one doctrine, you better elevate them all. If you're going to elevate the grace of God, you better take the holiness and the righteousness of God with it. Because if you take any doctrine to an extreme, you will surely arrive in heresy. And this is where sects are caused. This is where divisions are caused. When people take one little hobby horse, one little thing that looks so attractive and is good, it's good for them. But too much of a good thing without the other stuff can get you into trouble. Have a look how often we see this in church patterns today. Church divisions, church sectarianism, church polarizing. We find a truth, we grab it, we nail it, and we hold on to it with everything we've got at the expense of some of the other beautiful truths that there are. We found ourselves, just like sheep, becoming cast. It's not the end of the world. God is able to restore cast people, and I'm going to talk about that in a couple of days' time. But let's love the love of God. But let's elevate the love of God with His righteousness and His holiness. And let's take the law. And I think there's a place still for the law today, not for salvation's point of view, but God gave us the law to keep us out of trouble. God gave us the law to help us to live better lives. And this was the problem back in the days of the Pharisees. It was just the law, the law, the law, and they hammered away at the law. And then Jesus came along and said, hey, let's leave the law alone. Let's have a look at the love and the grace of God. The love of God is always above everything else. But be careful, because you may just elevate some things a little higher than others and find yourself in trouble. Have a look at this little theological piece of advice today, and I hope it makes sense to you. But we'll see you all again tomorrow. Bye now.